This is Mags on Media as we continue to cover transformation in the advertising industry, a debate held recently at the Gordon Institute of Business Science. With education and government inadequacy out the way, the attention then turned to the role of large multinational holding companies and their role in the stunted transformation in the industry. Mahadira Libitso, do multinationals pay lip service to transformation?
The question shouldn't be whether multinationals pay lip service to transformation or not. It should be whether capital. We spend billions of rands on behalf of our clients, customers, call them what you will. We keep very little for ourselves. In terms of our own money, we spend close on 20% of our profit, of our profit, what we make when all is said and done, on either internships or development programs. If you break it up, 12% of our profit goes specifically towards developing historically disadvantaged individuals. Now, it's bloody hard to make a profit in our line of business, but that's no excuse. Because as far as I'm concerned, the long-term profitability of our business depends on our ability to invest today and to develop that talent. Because otherwise we'll be irrelevant, and the lovely Funeka, I think it is, won't want to deal with us because we'll have her grandmother dancing for food. Two, on the tensions that I have with my multinational shareholders are no different to the issues that I've debated in many South African boardrooms, both dealing with banks, insurance companies, and others. And at the heart of this is the fact that we're moving from a different premise about what success looks like. We have people who are trying to assimilate black people into South African society, rather than trying to assimilate whites into South African society and having a society that's broadly reflective of the composition of people who make up that society. That's the issue we need to resolve. And as far as multinationals, the only thing on which there's, and I'll put it on the record where there's attention, is the fact that I want to own 98% of our business. They want to own naturally more than 51% because they want to be able to consolidate the business and because South Africa is an attractive marketplace for them, both from the standpoint of our creativity, strategic, and other capabilities which are a wonderful addition into their business. But that's a healthy tension because it's not a, it's about how do we grow the business, and the fact that I like the fact that they want to own, because if they didn't want to own a piece of my business, I'd be worried that we're not doing anything that makes it attractive for them, and soon they'll be thinking about other environments.
The 20% of profit that you spend, is that enough? If you went to Carter Murray and you said to him, I'd like to spend 30% or 40%, would they be happy with that? Or do they let you spend 20% reluctantly because
they don't let me do anything because we call the shots. I'm the chairman, the CEO, and other people who are there are all right here. So those things are our responsibility. We see them at shareholder meetings every now and then, and we collectively set the agenda. So Carter is not my problem. The rest of the industry and the society in which I'm operating, which is placing constraints, whereas I want to move a lot more aggressively, the difference between us is the fact that I have a different view of what transformation should
look like. So the multinational debate here is a spurious one.
It's an irrelevancy. We should take ownership of our problems in this country. We are the solution as well as the problem.
Fumi, settle yourself first of all. Okay. And now respond.
So we've also bought into the lie that says the multinational is not a problem. The problem, and at the time when I was at TBWA, one of the things that we faced constantly was reporting on profit. That's all that the multinationals care about. And prior to that, when I was at BBDO, all that the South African parts of the business do is
with respect, that's a reality of business.
But they are also
a reality of business.
The money does not get taken out of South Africa because it gets lost in translation. They do not care about what we are doing here in South Africa around the transformation agenda. They do not. All that they want to see is they want to see the money in their banks.
But Mahali says it's an irrelevant debate. You can spend what you want and you can further transformation. So what would you have the multinationals do?
But so why are we not able to transform? If that is the case, if the multinationals do not hold those purse strings, if they do not, we have to...
We were untransformed before the multinationals came along.
And we are still untransformed 20 years into this. We are still untransformed, even though we've got the...
So as an explanatory variable, the multinational argument doesn't hold water. Because the people who make by the time those guys are all helicopter in here or whatever they do when they come here, everything has happened. So I think we need to take collective responsibility for what does and doesn't happen in our industry. If there's a debate to have about how much should multinationals own the South African economy, I'm happy to have that discussion, but within the context of global capitalism and the need to attract capital into South Africa, it's a secondary issue for me.
And so you're saying that the person who pays has absolutely no impact on how you make your decisions as managers and leadership?
I didn't say that, but I can tell you right now, and you can test me on it, you can come to FCB and look at who makes the decisions in that business. We do.
So why are we untransformed?
I don't own the rest of the industry.
Funeka, let's just get a comment from you, please.
We mustn't radicalize transformation. There's nothing wrong with making money. Making money is good. That's why we are in business. But we got to figure out how to make money within the environment where we are. I just don't want us to get to a point where it's either money or transformation. It's both.
It's a false dichotomy.
Because if it was one, then it's like a charity. Then we move it to CSI, and I don't want that. I'm saying ultimately it's about how do you utilize all the resources of the Republic so that we can all make more money.
Odette, do you want to add something to that?
I understand that the industry is not transformed to the level that some people may like. But to say that the industry is not transformed is absolutely incorrect, because the numbers, whilst I don't like to just refer to the numbers all the time, they don't lie. They show that we've made steady progress in terms of transformation. But yes, I too personally would like to see that it would be better. And I'd like to see that we're sitting at a 60, 70% level. But the point is the intention is in the right place and the tools are there. So in future, there will be no excuse for a business that is untransformed as such.
So why don't we have a TRC? We'll look at the industry and we'll look at our clients and we have an honest reflection around whether or not business in South Africa in general is transforming sufficiently. And I don't want to talk about the exceptions here and there where at a point in time, you look at this financial institution, they're doing great, the talent drains out, it ends up at the red one where I once was, and then it ends up somewhere else. But on an overall basis, the total level of representativity of black people, and especially in leadership positions, is not improving. And sadly, some of that happens under black leaders supposedly running these companies.
You're absolutely right, Mohale, and I'll tell you that government will attest to that. It is the fundamental reason why government has decided to amend the BBBEE Act, because South Africa broadly has not transformed.
So why are we bitching and moaning about those codes?
So I'm saying why we're bitching and moaning is because the new generic codes, for example, are so stringent that government, and that's government statement to business. Government is saying, listen, for the past 20 years, you've been sort of hobbling by, and transformation has not, and I'm talking broadly, not just within the advertising sector, transformation hasn't happened. I happen to sit on the SACAP Exco, which is the architect's profession. You will die to know that there are only 9%, and there are 9,000 odd people, 9% of those are women, and even less are black. This is actually why the new BBBEE Act is put in place. It's to force companies into that.
For me, something from you just in terms of how you'd like to see this accelerate in the short term here.
I think I'd like us all to accept our role, our individual roles and our corporate roles, outside of government, outside of all the frameworks, because I think what Odette's shared with us in terms of the numbers is that transformation is happening. The numbers are growing. And what Mohale keeps telling us is that the leadership and the decision-making sits in the right places. There are blacks in those positions, and that the transformation has happened. So we then have to accept that we are either unwilling, as leaders of this industry, we are either unwilling or unable to effect the transformation and create those organizations of environments that can accept that we're going to create a South Africa that is transformed in terms of business as much as in terms of government.
Mahali Ralibitso, what is next?
I think what is next for me is to reflect on the fact that we've had 20 years of mainly lackluster growth. And I think for me that links to trying to be the South Africa of old, which we abandoned because it was a comprehensive failure. I think we need to take on the task of saying the South Africa we want to leave to our children is a different South Africa, which grows, which taps into the energies of all its people, and whose culture, therefore, is an inclusive and dynamic one that's going to allow us to be competitive on the world stage. I think the hidden message behind our growth is the fact that there's still pockets of this country that are disengaged. We're not going to engage them by trying to resist the future and defending a status quo, which frankly won't get us anywhere.
Odette Roper, when your MAC charter is finally enacted, is the debate that we will have this time next year on this campus going to be very different?
I certainly hope so. And my closing remark is very simple. It's a challenge set to all brand barons and marketing moguls, which is put your money where your mouth is. If you feel so strongly about transformation, let's see a couple of bursaries. I personally, in the last 4 years, have raised 42 bursaries, mentored 42 kids, and sent them into the field. So if Odette Roper can do that in terms of 42 at a not-for-profit organization, I challenge the big corporations, as in our clients, and I challenge the ad agencies to match that. And I'd like to see at the next debate that we have a whole flood of kids that we can now feed into the system that are being not just funded for their tertiary education, but mentored through the whole process. And I'd like to see a whole new generation coming through the system as a result of a commitment to transformation.
Well, it seems there is still much work to be done on this particular subject. You can send us your comments on this contentious issue on Facebook and on Twitter.